Good evening. Testing. Can everybody hear me? First off.
Yes.
First time I've held a microphone, speaking into a microphone through a mask. Welcome. Thank you for coming. My name is Jim Newton. I'm the project manager. I'm in the engineering department for the City of Coronado, and the project manager for the Cays Park Master Plan project. Want to go ahead and get things started right at 6 o'clock. I want to be sensitive to your time. I know everybody's schedules are busy, and we are also trying to be very sensitive to the situation we're in with COVID. While we would have liked to have this meeting down in the Cays, like we did with some of our past workshops, this is our biggest meeting room. We have the windows and doors open. Please keep your mask on. The last thing we want this meeting to do is show up in the news as a super spreader event here in Coronado. So I'm going to do what I can to keep this meeting moving as quickly as possible, but we've got some information we want to share and get some feedback from you. So that's why we're here this evening. On your chair, you should have seen a handout. Looks something like this. If you don't have one, or if you would like extra, please raise your hand and I can come give you one or multiple. Looks like everyone's got it, so we're off to a good start there. So this is what we're going to be covering this evening. This is a project that has had a relatively long history due to COVID, so I'll walk you through where we've been and what our current status is. And then next we'll talk about where we think we're going with this project, next steps. But what we're really here to do this evening, hopefully, is confirm the city's understanding of what we have heard from the community so far. So we'll talk a little bit about how we will go about that this evening to confirm consensus or support for the design guidelines that you see on your chair. And then we'll walk through each of those individually and look to see what your feedback is on those. Lastly, the last slide, in addition to feedback here this evening and for folks watching from home, not able to participate live, you can send me emails with additional thoughts and comments for the next few weeks. So my email address is here. I have another slide at the end. We're hoping to get all of our feedback wrapped up by September 23rd. So that's a little bit of an outline of this evening. So jumping in, a little bit of history on the project. This is a project that started back in 2019. We had our first kickoff meeting with our consultants back in July, and we had our first 2 public workshops in October of 2019. And those were followed by an online survey that we had up for about 30 days. And those workshops were all about trying to understand what the community would like to see done with Coronado Cays Park. We had then moved into what we had called Task 2, which was using that information and coming up with ideas that responded to what we were hearing. And unfortunately, that process sort of got put on hold when COVID hit. So in February 2020, we started putting things on hold because part of what we needed to do at that point was come back out and meet with the community and find out what ideas you liked, what you didn't like, and we couldn't, just quite frankly, we couldn't have that meeting. So the project was on hold for quite some time. And we finally decided it was time to dust it off in May of this year. And so we went to the Parks and Recreation Commission with the idea of just reminding everybody this project had been underway. Here's what we had done, and here's what we were planning on doing moving forward. Reminding them that no action had been taken during that temporary pause. But that did not stop the flow of information from coming to us. We continued to get emails and phone calls with ideas and comments. So wanted to acknowledge that information continued. We also learned when in attending that meeting that there was another survey, not done by the city, but out in the community, that was generating a lot of attention, and so we agreed at that Parks and Recreation Commission to hold off on any work until that survey was done, and then we can take a look at the data and include that in all of the data that we were considering for this project. That brings us to today. That other survey is completed. We've looked at the data, and so now we're here to again summarize what we think we've heard in the form of design guidelines. That's the handout that was on your chair, and we'll be going through those here in a minute. So this evening we sort of nicknamed it the workshop Consensus on Vision. Again, what we're hoping to do, we have taken everything we've heard over the last almost 2 years at this point, and tried to boil it all down to design guidelines that we can use in creating a master plan for the project, for the park. And so, what we hope to do tonight, hopefully, if we got it all right, we'll see a lot of support for these ideas. We can take those design guidelines and turn them into pictures, concepts for you to consider at a future workshop, which we're nicknaming right now Consensus on Design Elements. So at that point, we will bring you drawings, concepts, renderings of ideas for consideration. And then go through another process to find out what ideas you like, what ideas you don't like, and the ones that you do like, we'll get those incorporated into a master plan for the project. And we'll be presenting those, that master plan to the Coronado Cays HOA, to the Parks and Recreation Commission, public meetings. We want to try and get both of those groups support for whatever master plan we develop before we take it to council for final consideration and hopefully adoption. So that's sort of, again, starting with this evening and the steps that we envision moving forward. So this evening, what we will do is, in a minute, we'll go through all the design guidelines that are on the handout that you have, make sure that everybody understands what they mean, and then we're just going to simply ask you, raise your hand if you support that idea. We'll go through them one at a time. And hopefully, if we've got it right, we're going to see a lot of hands go up. Maybe we only see half the hands go up. That's good too. We're looking for anything that's got, a clear consensus or something close to a majority, and we can use those to develop drawings and concepts for you to consider at a future date. So this evening, think of it as big picture thinking. We're just coming up with the ideas to use as guidelines, and then the next step will be the very specific improvements that for your consideration. Let me pause right there. Any questions about what I've laid out so far?
So there won't be any room for comments, negative or otherwise, right?
This evening?
Yeah.
Well, so
all you're asking for is support.
So if we look for, if I ask you to raise your hand in support and nobody raises their hands, we'll go back to the office, we'll take another look at the data, see where we went wrong. We might have to go do some more public outreach and figure out what is the right design guideline that we should have. So for this evening, what we're just looking for is based on what we're proposing right now, do you agree with those? And if we don't have a clear consensus on those, we will have to add in another step to try and make sure we get it right. I'm sorry, I should have repeated the question. Did everybody more or less get the gist of that? The feedback, and if there's something in here that you don't like, or is missing something, that's the process I was trying to address. Okay. Another question?
I'd like to know what the proposed budget is for the park, and if it has been increased because of the time lapse from when this was started until now. And I'd like to know what the projected time is for the park to be completed if there is going to be a renovation.
Okay. The question was, with regards to budget, will we need to change as a result of changes in schedule, and what's the timing of the overall project? Okay? So the answer to that question is, right now the budget that we have is purely for the master plan process. We do not have a budget for improvements, right? So, and depending on the outcome of this evening and the development of the design guidelines, at that point we'll know how many different ideas and how many different drawings we might need to come up with and present to you at the next workshop. If we need more money in our, from our current budget, we would need to go to council and ask for that. But I'm not there yet, so I can't answer that.
What is the budget now?
My budget right now for the whole master plan project is right around $100,000. And as to schedule, I don't have a schedule for that yet. Right now, we want to make sure we understand what our design guidelines are, and then I can start laying out the next steps. How long is it going to take us to get the renderings that's required? And again, the master plan is just a planning document. It's not setting the schedule for actual construction. That would come later through the city's capital improvement program, setting aside the actual design and construction money and planning for the sequencing of it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Next question.
I was going to hold my sign up. So I'm hearing we're not going to have any public comment today, no opportunity to speak.
Right now, so the question was, is there opportunity to speak this evening? Right now, no. We're looking to see if we got it right, try and keep things simple this evening and hopefully keep the meeting short again. I don't want to keep a group of this size any longer than I have to. If we didn't get it right, we will need to have some more public outreach and some more effort.
Can we send our public comments to you on your email?
Yes, please do. You're encouraged to send your public comments to me.
Maybe please have more trees.
More trees, noted. Questions on what we've heard so far?
My thinking is, if it isn't broken, why fix it? Did you take a consensus of most of the people who think that we're quite happy with the way that the dog park is now, or do we need to really expand because it works for us?
Comment is, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
I understand that point of view. A lot of folks share that point of view. And what I will say is when we go through the design guidelines, if you don't feel that those guidelines support that point of view, don't raise your hand. Okay. Any other questions at this point? Okay. So, here are the design guidelines that we've developed. And again, on the handout that you've got, I want to go through one at a time, add any explanation that I think is necessary, and then when I get to the end, again, I'll ask questions if there are any questions about what any of these mean. Okay? So number one, the amount of parking currently provided should be maintained. No expansion of parking facilities is desired. Relatively straightforward. We're not looking to grow the parking lot that's out there. If we need to change the shape of the parking lot, we're not looking to add parking spaces. We think we've got enough parking spaces as it is today. Okay, so that's what that one's all about. Number two, increase seating in shaded areas while protecting existing view corridors as much as possible are desired. So existing view corridors, to us, there are a lot of different ways or alignments where you can see through the park and out to the ocean. We want to protect that. Whether it's from a private residence or in the park itself, we'd be looking to try and add some shade without blocking those views. Okay. Number three, playground. This is kind of a two-parter. Updating the playground equipment for accessibility within the existing footprint is desired based on what we've heard so far. That seems to be the preference. But part B, open to consideration of moving or expanding the area to accommodate additional accessibility, seating, or shade. So if we can, with everything else that we plan for in the park, if we can move that and grow it a little bit for one of those reasons, it seems like there's some openness to at least consider that idea. Not saying there's support for it, just saying open to it. When I get to the end, let me do questions. Number four, the existing softball field should be maintained. Straightforward there. Keep it around. Number five, a reduction in sports field utilization via programming and/or physical space allocated is desirable. So what we're talking about here is reducing the amount of sports being played on those fields, either by not allowing it to get scheduled in the first place, or physically removing the area that's available for sports, changing it to something else. So there's a general desire to reduce sports through either one of those or both of those. Number 6 is related to the dog park. Again, a two-parter. Existing space for dog park is adequate and should be maintained. There's no desire to get rid of it or grow it either direction. Let's keep it similar or same to what it is. Open to consideration of a barrier between the dog park area and remaining park space via mounds or landscaping, not a fence. Seems to be open to consideration of that idea. Definite opposition to a fence from what we've seen, but maybe through landscaping or some graded berms in there to provide a little bit of separation. Open consideration. That would be something we again would bring some pictures back to you to show you what that might look like and let you consider that. Number 7, a little bit of a long one, sorry. The existing character of the park, including its existing view corridors, should be maintained. Space gained through reduction in sports fields or other features should be utilized for passive park amenities, including natural landscaping or grading elements, walking paths, or other features that support a family-oriented park environment for residents' use. So what we're going after here is any additional space we generate. Don't program it again for another sport or for something that isn't a passive use where you can just walk into the park and enjoy that space. You don't need a reservation. You don't need anything other than just showing up at the park and enjoying that space. So those we think we can come up with a master plan using those design guidelines. It's not intended, or I don't think this is, covers every single element of the park out there, right? So, for example, pickleball is a hot topic right now. I've received a lot of information. A lot of people are interested in providing pickleball. That's something we think we can tackle in the next phase of this. It doesn't really affect the layout of the park, changes in the park, so we can bring in some pictures and very easily show, hey, we've got the existing tennis courts, we've got some space over here, here's how we might be able to accommodate pickleball. Do you like it? Do you not like it? It doesn't have a huge impact that affects the overall layout of the park. So there are things like that that aren't covered by the design guidelines, but that are things we're going to have to work out as we move through this process. But these were the big ticket items that we felt needed to be covered or addressed with some guidelines that we knew what direction we're heading with this. Okay? Any questions on what these mean? Yes, sir.
I just wondered if you had statistics. You keep referencing that you felt like these are the ones that needed to be addressed. I'm just wondering, there's some interesting ones up there. I haven't seen the surveys, kind of living here in town. I'm wondering if there are statistics on the number of people who said that sports fields needed to go away so that passive areas could be put in. Do we have statistics on that?
Yeah, so the question is, what's the data that we have that generated these design guidelines? Fair summary?
And those exist?
They do exist. So the original survey that the city did, all that data is available. We presented to the city council. It's been published publicly. I believe it's on the project website. I will double check that this evening. But that original survey data is there. The emails and the phone calls that we received during the what I'll call the COVID pause, we have not published those. We just simply haven't been back to council to present those. Very similarly with the survey that was done, not by the city, but was circulated around. We have seen that data, we've viewed that data, we've looked at it, and we're comfortable including that data in our consideration, but we have not published that. I believe it has been published by the folks that did the survey, but the city has not. Yes?
Are you incorporating this study or this master plan with the tennis pickleball workshop that's been going on?
So the question is, is this effort being coordinated with the tennis and pickleball effort that's underway right now? I might look to Roger Miller. Sorry, I should have introduced Roger. Roger, Director of Recreation and Golf.
No, it's not, as the tennis and pickleball workshops are dealing with policies regarding those sports and fee structures for those sports. So this is the avenue in which we're kind of looking at pickleball courts.
But it will affect infrastructure, both that study and this study, they will affect infrastructure.
Yeah, for this project, this would involve a budget. For my project, for pickleball and tennis, it does not involve a budget. For a capital improvement.
That's a good question. On your budget, now it's on the planning commission in Orange County years ago. Everybody charges the people who use the field. I don't think you guys charge, that would pay for this entire project if you want to do it.
Yeah, we developed a field allocation plan last year, and this year is the first time we've actually implemented the field allocation plan. The field allocation plan does have a fee, a user fee for the sports field use for organized sports, with some exceptions.
More questions on what these mean? Yes, sir.
Yes, with the field allocation plan, does that take into account if we actually lose these fields? Is there capacity within the rest of the city to handle the desire?
At this point in time, I would tell you that there's probably more demand than there are fields available. And especially since the beginning of the, probably halfway through the pandemic, a lot of people became reacquainted with outdoor activities for all different sports, not just field sports, but all sports.
So with these fields being multi-use space as it is already, has that been taken into account when it comes to number 5 as far as obliterating that space for use for kid development and everything else as far as what our community is supposed to be about?
Let me see if I can add to what Roger said on that. At this point, because we don't know how much space we're talking about, the short answer to your question, have we, sorry for those at home, have we considered the ramifications on sports and ability to meet demand, right, in that statement? And the answer is no, because we don't know how much space we're talking about. But I feel it's my responsibility as project manager, if I bring a plan before the city council that shows reduction in sports fields, I need to explain to them what the ramifications are, so that they can make an educated, informed decision on whether or not that's acceptable.
So, were the surveys sent out just to the residents of the Cays, or was this a citywide survey?
So there are 2 surveys. So the question was, who was the survey sent to? Right? So the city survey, we did coordinate with the HOA to try and get it out to residents and owners. We put it on the public, on the city's website. We tried to advertise it everywhere we could. The more recent survey that was not done by the city, my understanding is that was sent out to residents of the Cays, but I don't know specifically.
Okay. Is the park run by the city, or is it run specifically just by the residents of the Cays?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The park is a city-run park, correct?
Yes, the park is a city-run park. It's a city public park.
But is it San Diego City, or is it Coronado?
Coronado.
Okay, so shouldn't all of the residents in Coronado have a say in this, because it's affecting a lot of families and not just the residents of the Cays?
Sure. So the question is, who should have a say in what happens to Coronado Cays Park?
Sure.
Fair summary. Yes, all Coronado residents are welcome to fill out and participate in this process. It is not limited to only Coronado Cays residents.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one quick comment and one quick question. Number 1, second survey you're talking about did not go to everyone who lives here. Second, do we have political support in the city council and with the mayor to reduce, I know we can't eliminate, but to reduce soccer usage? If that is what you decide after.
So one comment, one question. The comment being that the non-city survey was not sent to all Cays residents. I speak to that. I wasn't responsible for the survey.
So you know what it's worth.
I understand, yes. Your question about, do we have council support for reduction in sports fields? That's the question. In
Soccer is our big draw on that field.
We have not formally asked the council that question yet. Right now, all we're doing with this statement is, this is what we believe we've been told is the desire of the community. And so it's our job to figure out how can we accommodate that and what it might look like.
Just a suggestion, find out what the inline is, who gets the use of the field, so you don't waste your time.
Understood. Understood. Any more questions about any of the meanings of any of these? Yes, sir.
This comment about softball field, how often is it used?
It's used more now than it used to be, is my understanding.
No.
As far as
Zero.
rates of utilization
Zero.
every day, I don't
No
have that.
use.
It's not used.
It's zero.
I don't think it's used hardly at all.
It is used.
Understood? So here's what I would say to that. If you don't feel it's used and if you don't feel it's a worthwhile use of space, don't support that idea. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jim, the softball field is used. As a matter of fact, I sort of co-captain with another person on a softball practice team that goes out and plays every Monday and Thursday at 4 o'clock. And I would invite anybody here who's interested in softball to come out and join us. And I would also say that I have seen many fathers and sons, mothers and sons, practicing and learning the elements of baseball on our field in the Cays. I think it's an important asset.
Understood. Understood. Any other questions on meaning? No. Yes.
Yeah, related, I don't see any mention of a basketball court. Is that?
We do have, so the question is, there's nothing up here about the basketball court. Absolutely correct. We do have some feedback on the basketball court. Off the top of my head, I can't cite numbers for you. But again, we think that that's one of those elements that's small enough. It's not going to affect whether it stays, whether it goes. It's not large enough to affect the grand plan, and so that's something we can address in the next step of the process. Yes, sir.
I have a question about, are you trying to me?
Yes.
I have a question about playground B.
3B,
Up there.
yes.
What does it mean, accommodate additional accessibility, that's very vague, what does that mean?
So that means more accessibility for folks with disabilities.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on meaning? Yes.
Is this an all or nothing vote, or are you gonna vote
Nope.
on one?
It's not. Is this an all or nothing vote? No, we're going to go through each one at a time, and 3A and 3B one at a time, for example. What do you think? Should we get started? Okay, let's do it. First one, parking. Existing parking seems reasonable. That's the short end. That's the short version. What do we think? That's a lot of hands. I like it. We're off to a good start.
Stop there.
Number 2, increased seating and shaded areas are desirable. Show of hands. I'd say enough. Enough. Okay? Number 3, let's start on the playground with 3A. Updating playground equipment for accessibility within the existing footprint is desired. Show of hands. I'd say we've got a majority there. Okay? And 3B, open to consideration of moving or expanding it for additional accessibility, seating, shading. Support for that? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. All right, number 4, existing softball field should be maintained. Little over half, I would say. Okay. Thank you. All right, a reduction in sports field utilization, either through programming or physical space, is desirable. I'm not sure we do have a majority on that.
I guess they don't understand.
Okay.
Would you mind telling us whether it's majority or not majority when you see them up there?
Yes, sorry, I haven't been saying it loud enough. No, I don't think we got a majority on that.
So can you clarify, does that mean you're not going to carry forward that idea in the next part of the master plan?
Well, so I'm going to go back to the office, take a look at why we made that statement, try and figure out where we went wrong, and then we've got to figure out, because that's an important one. I mean, that's a big one. So I think that's something that we're going to probably have to come back out, get a little bit more understanding of what is the desire related to the sports field. Spend a little bit more time on that one. We got to get that right.
Because you know that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that have given you input, and you've got a very small sample here. And so this, on any of these, is very much swayed by whoever was able to come to this meeting tonight.
That is true.
You know, and you might have a majority of the people that decide one way and this room decides another. So you be very careful about going.
No, understood. The comment, if I could summarize, being that the amount of data we've collected so far is a lot more than the folks in this room. The people here this evening able to attend might not be a fair representation of the community desires. I do get that, and that's why I don't want to commit to anything right now. I do want to go back and look at what made us come up with this statement. Can we try and verify if that data is correct, or if it's changed, or so we should take another look at it.
If you aren't sure, would you ask for another show of hands on this one?
Sure, let's just again, number 5, show of hands for support.
Can I ask one question first? Can you divide that question into two pieces? One, would we like to see a reduction in the weekend soccer tournaments? Or do we want to see a reduction in the number of soccer fields available at the park? I think they're two totally different questions.
So if I could summarize the comment, and I'll try and read the room if I could. The question is, it might be different if we're talking about weekend tournaments versus the more local programs.
Soccer field practice,
Soccer field
cross
practice.
practice.
Would that make a difference to folks if it was phrased differently?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Let me. I don't want to try and tackle this one on the fly. Let me go back. Your point is well made, and might be another way we can look to collect some more data and try and understand this one. Okay.
So can you ask for a show of hands on that one again, because you weren't sure?
Number 5, one more time.
Number 5, one more.
Last time, going once, going twice, 3 times. Show of hands, support on 5. I don't think there's a majority. Fair point. Yes, we are accepting comments via email to me until September 23rd. All right, number 6, let's talk about the dog park. Existing space for the dog park is adequate and should be maintained. Show of hands. Oh, we got a majority there. Okay, we're back on track.
Any possibility of expanding it about 25 yards north to accommodate the seat?
Accommodate the what? I missed that.
Well, I guess those that don't know the dog park don't know what I'm talking about.
I just missed it.
We
I'm
have a
sorry.
nice seat, a metal or a cement chair that's about 25 yards past the restricted area. Can we just move it up about 25 yards to the north, accommodate that seating area, and nobody ever goes there for dogs anyway? No. Let's go there.
Give it an inch.
Seems like a reasonable comment. We can easily tackle that in the next step. All right, 6B, open to consideration of a barrier, either mounding or landscaping, not a fence. Show of hands on that one, open to it. I don't think we have a majority on that one. Okay.
Can I have a quick clarification on that?
Clarification, sure.
That dog park area, are they allowed off of their leash? Or they're,
In the park itself or outside
at
the
the
dog
dog
park?
park area,
Yes, off leash.
they're allowed off the,
Yes.
but there's no barrier, like most dog park areas have some sort of barrier to keep them from running.
Correct, yeah, so the comment is, our dog's allowed off leash in the dog park, yes, but there is no barrier. That's what we're trying to get at, is one desire. Okay. All right, last one, number 7, the big one, summarizing. Existing character remains. Any space generated should be used for passive use for residents and families.
What's natural landscape?
Natural landscaping,
Are
so,
trees?
I'm sorry?
Are those trees?
Could include trees. Could include trees, plants, flowers. Undefined right now. We would come back, that'd be part of the next step. We would bring you pictures of, here's ideas of what landscaping would be and where. Okay. Are these questions or support? Question, yes.
So this obviously depends on question number 5. So the fact that you have a space gained and everything else by the facilitation of the sports field or the common use area is a preliminary question that actually answer.
Yes, so the comment, absolutely correct, is this one is dependent on sports fields going away or somehow generating space. I totally agree with it. It is. So this one really is more about if there is that space, how do we use it? So in having to go back and take another look at number 5, that does mean we've got to, this one, we've got
5 and 4.
to consider.
5 and 4. Also 4.
You asked 2 questions on number 7, and one I can support and one I can't. So how am I supposed to vote? I support the existing character of the park.
Okay.
Totally. But I don't think the space gained through any reduction of sports fields is appropriate.
Gotcha. I'm not sure I can tell you how to do that. I can't change
I
it.
can't vote.
Okay, that's fair.
Honestly, I think the question needs to be worded in a separate form.
Okay.
2 parts.
Comment, sorry, for folks that can't hear. Comment is, there's too much in here, break it down.
Yes, yes.
Right, break it down into smaller pieces.
That's a loaded question. 7.
Okay.
Good, you're right.
I think I'd like to vote on the first sentence. I think this people like to vote, and you should keep it like it is.
So the comment is, the group might want to vote on the first sentence. Let me do this. Let's vote on it first as is, and then I will take your suggestion and vote on the first sentence only. So we can vote on the whole thing all at once. Show of hands. Support? Yeah. No, we don't have a majority there. Okay, so let's just focus on the first sentence for a second. So existing character of the park, including existing food corridors, should be maintained. Full stop. Majority. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. That is what we came for. Another question?
So that's for 7 again. Why can't you find out information about the second part of the question, but you need the information about space gain reduction in sports field or other features? Because still the rest of that is important, is that perhaps there are people that would like to have more passive park amenities, including natural landscaping, like I heard someone say trees earlier. So I think if you get rid of the first part as it being dependent upon.
In other words, there's space for trees.
Right.
Even if you don't reduce the sports area.
Right, you know, and some of the others talk about increased shading, right? And seated areas. So I understand where you're coming from. All right. That was the mission for this evening. I'll come back. So I want to let folks again remind folks, additional feedback is always welcome. We've given about 2 weeks. Please send me your emails. Encourage your friends, neighbors to do so as well. I'm going to stick around. I just want to make sure if you wanted to leave, if you've got other commitments, we've done what we came here to do. So thank you very much. I'm going to be sticking around if you'd like to come chat with me afterwards. I'll be here until everybody's out. All right. Thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.